Okay, so welcome back everybody. In today's video, we're going to be going over how to take our design and get it set up so we can start to lay out our tool paths. So to do this, what we need to do is we're going to take our three-dimensional part and we're going to move this over to manufacture it. So up by this design, right now we're in the design mode. If you click on that, we've got these other options here. And we're going to go down to manufacture. And you can see here, it generates toolpath strategies for the design to be fabricated, which is exactly what we're looking to do. So we're going to click on manufacture. All right, you could see that's going to change all of our tools up here at the top. Now the first thing you want to do is make sure that your units are in inches. A lot of times the first time when you move over to manufacturing, it might be in millimeters. So if it's still in millimeters, just open that up, change that to inches and set it as default. All right. So once we do that, the first thing we need to do is we need to set up what type of tooling we're going to do or use to make our part. So it's exactly what it sounds like. Under the setup tab, all right, there's a little setup folder, okay? And we're going to go ahead and click on that folder, and you can see if you hover over it, it actually tells you setup is an important first step in starting your manufacturing process. So we're going to go ahead and click on that folder to start our setup. If you don't see it here, just click on the drop down and go ahead and just click on new setup. So what that's going to do is that's going to open up this window over here, okay? And we're going to go through this to get our machine set up. So first thing that we see here is we got machine. We don't need to worry about that. We don't need to select a machine. I'm just going to close that tab just to give me a little bit more room. But again, we don't need to worry about that. As far as setup goes, the operation type that we want to do, for what we're doing here is we're going to be milling this part out. We have a couple options. We're either going to be using milling, and then when we start getting into metal work, we're going to use cutting. But for this operation, we're going to use milling. So now, this is probably one of the most important parts, really, in setting this up. You are going to set up your X, Y, and Z axes. And that's what everything runs on. And you're also going to set up your zero, your absolute zeros for your X, Y, and Z. So we want to make sure that our X axis is running along this plane right here. Our Y is running along this axis here, and our Z is actually coming off of the machine. The Z is the actual cutter. All right, so that's the actual tool that's going to come down and cut out our work. So mine is set up correctly. I've got my X pointing this way, I've got my Y pointing straight up, and I've got my Z pointing away from the machine. If it's not set up correctly, what you want to do is click on orientation, go down to where it says select Z axis / plane and X, and I'm going to select that. So the first thing it's going to do is it's going to want me to select my Z axis. So make sure that that's blue so you can come over here and select it. And we're going to click anywhere on the front of our workpiece. Okay, make sure it's not a line. You want to click on the face. All right, so I click on that. That sets my Z. Now it's going to come here and ask me to select my X. All right, so that's highlighted, so I can select my X, and I want to click on this right face over here. And that's going to set my X axis. All right, so now everything's pointed in the correct direction. Okay, so now what I need to do is set my zeros. So for under origin, you want to make sure that stock box point is selected. And you're going to click here so you can actually select your point. Now we want our zeros to be this front left top corner. Okay, so I just scrolled in a little bit so I can really see it, and I'm gonna select that front corner, and you could see it moves my X, Y, and Z axes. So that's what I should be looking at. Okay, so now that I've got my zeros, my zero and my axes all set up correctly, now what I need to do is set my stock. So to set my stock, I go here to the stock tab in the setup. All right, and I want my mode to be relative size box. Okay, so if you don't have, sometimes you'll have it'll might look like this. Just click on that drop down under mode and click relative size box. Now we want it the exact size of our material. All right, so you can see our material is going to be 10. The overall size is 10 by 3.5 by 3/4. Right now it's a little bit bigger. All right, so we want, under stock offset mode, we want no additional stock. So you should look at this and see that your stock width along your X axis is 10, your stock depth along your Y is 3.5, and your stock height along your Z is 0.75. All right, so once you have that all set, you go ahead and you click OK. And now you can see over here under setups, we've got our setup right here. And that's for our material. So stay tuned for the next video on laying out your tool paths. I am going to save this and come back for the next one. Thanks a lot.